My name is Giselle. This is Slow Food Live. Slow Food Live is a project of Slow Food USA. We actually began this whole webinar series when COVID first began, but it has been very well received and a whole lot of fun. So we're going to keep it going because we've been able to bring wonderful people from around the nation and around the world, like Johnny and Nika, to our little Slow Food Live stage so that we can all hear from these folks together. And Slow Food USA, if you are not familiar, is the national entity for slow food. Slow food is present in 160 countries. We advocate for good, clean, and fair food for all. And of course, that includes beverages. And good, clean, and fair is a many-layered concept, and we try to touch on all of it. So today, I am really, really excited to welcome Johnny and Nika to Slow Food Live. Thank you both for being with us here today. And I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to you to tell everyone more about yourselves and your story.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. We are so happy to be here. I'm Johnny Caldwell.
And I'm Tanika Reeves.
And we are the Cocktail Bandits.
Your curly ladies who talk cocktails daily.
And we are located here in beautiful and historic Charleston, South Carolina. We're actually at the Patron Distillery here. They just reopened in the new building earlier this year, I believe.
Yeah, probably was, earlier this year. It was. I mean, it feels like it's been forever now since we've been in quarantine for so long.
Yeah, so we were here when they first opened up and had their launch party, and it seemed like shortly thereafter they had to close their doors. But they've been huge supporters of us. They are part of our signature cocktail origin story. So we wanted to be on location and also show you their beautiful facility because people haven't been able to see it closed.
And another fun fact about Firefly, they're the first distillery in South Carolina. They opened up doors for a lot of other wonderful liquid assets that we have here. So we're grateful to partner with them, and we're grateful to be here today.
Yeah, they changed the laws, right? Actually,
they changed the laws after Firefly,
opened up.
Yes.
We also want to thank Slow Foods for inviting us to be a part of this. We actually were working with Slow Foods Charleston on a conference they were planning in Charleston. We were going to be over the beverages, and we were curating 2 events. And, as a result of the health crisis, we had to postpone that conference. But it's great to be able to take it to virtual interaction and still be able to engage with you guys during this time.
Absolutely. We love making things work.
That's really our brand motto.
You got to make it work.
So before we get into the whole Cocktail Bandit thing, we want to tell you more about us individually. Like I said, my name is Johnny Caldwell. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. My family has been living in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, on heirs property for years. Better part of 100 years we've been living in Mount Pleasant. So we've been seeing all the changes that took place in that area, all the development, all of the agriculture changes, and I'm really proud to be a native and represent our city all over the world.
Yes, and I am from a small town called Mullins, South Carolina, and my family's the same way. They're on heirs property. So my family has been there since after slavery. They actually purchased their land, and I'm so thankful that we still have it. My grandparents also grow a lot of food, and they take care of animals like chickens, pigs, just different livestock. So we are really used to slow food in my neck of the woods.
I love that. So Tanika and I both went off to college. We are definitely first generation students for our families. And we met at the College of Charleston on the very first day of school.
Yes, that was back in 2004. Don't age check us. Don't age check us. But back in 2004, we met the very first day of school. We met some other friends. We were about to go on this group trip, but we knew right then that we were going away from the pack and doing our own, like getting outside the box and doing our own thing. And we've been doing our own thing ever since.
Yeah, and also since Tanika was from a smaller town, when she came to Charleston, she really had this vigor and love for the city, all like the hustle and bustle, all of the nightlife, and it kind of really ignited my love for Charleston. Growing up in Mount Pleasant, we just never came downtown. It was like a cultural thing, don't go to the city. It really was a fear of not really being safe. So being on the campus and being downtown, I felt immersed in the culture. I felt like I wanted to find my place in Charleston in food and bev scene.
And what was interesting about that is we went to a school that is majority white. So it's 94% white and 6% minority, which is everything included. So it was kind of like a place where we felt excluded, but we had to find our way to make it work. So I think that going to College of Charleston really, and we love College of Charleston, go Cougars.
Yeah.
But with lack of diversity, we had to make things work from our perspective. And I think that's really helped us in our business today.
I agree completely. We were both political science majors at the College of Charleston, so we learned about just how things work, negotiating, finding people, finding resources, networking, just building something from grassroots. We learned that from political science education. I went on to law school after I graduated from the College of Charleston, and I studied intellectual property and trademark law. But after I graduated from law school, I had so much difficulty finding work, it was nearly discouraging.
Yes, and after I finished school, I went to the bar scene because I was kind of done and over the whole political world at that time. I really wanted to go and do something that was kind of carefree and fun and allowed me to be creative. So when I started bartending at different bars, my beautiful friend would come in on her days off from studying hours and hours a day and, taste my little creations and would tell me what tasted good, told me what was not so good, what I needed to work on. So we kind of both were refining our palates together during this process, not knowing what we were going to do next.
That's so true. Before that time, I was totally a passive consumer when I was in bars and restaurants. Didn't really pay attention to the craft going into the cocktails. It was a lot of focus on the food and the chef, but not really on the bartender. So when my friend was making me these amazing drinks, I was really like transported someplace. It was like a whole new experience. And being that I was in law school, I was stressed, I was overwhelmed. So my free time and my off work time was so precious to me. And I realized I really wanted to spend some time figuring out what other professionals like me would do in our off time. So as I said, we had difficulty finding work after graduating and after transitioning careers.
Yeah.
And we started a group called the Movers and Shakers Mix.
Yes, and with the Movers and Shakers Mix, it was just a networking opportunity for young up-and-coming professionals like us to get other young professionals in the same room and talk about what we're doing in the city, in the community, in the state, in the nation, whatever. So we had lots of different guests come and speak. We had our now mayor come and speak at our event, and it really grew. We had a lot of people come in, and that's when we started offering beverages to our people at the Movers and Shakers Mixers because they wanted to try new and different things.
And we also wanted to introduce them to other local businesses.
Yeah.
One of the first brands that we introduced was Firefly. They partnered with us. We met them networking at an event, and they gave us product to experiment with. So we were able to give our guests at the Movers and Shakers Mix something they hadn't had before, something that would add to the overall networking experience. And we figured out then that we had something special with the beverages and making that a key component of their event.
Exactly. And this was around about 2012. So, Instagram was just growing. These social media networks were just becoming more popular. People were starting to trust actually posting things and having things online. And we just was studying the environment. We saw a lot of hair tutorials. We saw a lot of makeup and fitness tutorials. And we saw a lot of food, lots and lots and lots of food. And we were like, man, this is really cool. We don't see this with beverages. Maybe there's something here.
That's right. We also were hosting all these events in different bars and restaurants, and we didn't see very many people of color. And we saw even fewer females of color behind the bar, working as hostesses, working as beverage managers. We just did not see them present. So we decided to be those people that we wanted to see.
Absolutely.
We took the social media, as Tamika said, and we wanted to use that space to showcase our beverage education and our love for the cocktail craft. So we got a kit offline, a basic $30 kit that came with the basic tools that you use to make cocktails with and some ingredients, and we made almost every cocktail in that book. We would remix it with local ingredients like muscadine grapes and loquats to give it a Charleston flair. And our social media presence just grew and grew.
Yes, it did. Like in the first 2 years, I'll say 2 to 3 years of our business, we got about 15,000 followers, and we were overwhelmed. But it was so apparent that there were not a lot of women of color talking about beverages, and we would get countless DMs, countless messages about how people love what we're doing and how we've inspired them to actually become connoisseurs themselves.
We also had opportunity to work for a local news outlet. The Charleston Chronicle newspaper has been in existence for over 50 years. They have been a real spokesperson for the African American community in Charleston, and they allowed us to have an entertainment section. So we would go out to different music events, cultural events, art events in Charleston, and we would share information about those events in the entertainment section in the Chronicle. And this would encourage people of color, people of diverse backgrounds to come out to these events, to feel welcome, to want to try something different.
Absolutely. And to give you guys a little bit of context on how we got our name, one night we were just out at this bar called Cocktail Club. Shout out to Cocktail Club. They're still here. And we decided we were only going to get one drink when we were going in there. And, you know, an hour and a half, couple hours later, we had punch bowls, we had wine glasses, we had cocktail cups, we had everything on our table. And we're like, whoa, I guess we're the bandits of cocktails. And it kind of stuck from there. So once we grew in Charleston, because we got the city paper, and we would go to every free event because we were broke. So we would go to every event that was free, and all of our events thankfully have alcohol in Charleston because it's a very drinking city. And then we got a write-up in Charleston City Paper, and then some lovely Flow foodies, the Lee brothers, saw this, and they invited us to Atlanta Food and Wine for our first experience at any wine festival.
That really was a game changer for us. We had not thought about food or beverage conferences or festivals at that point.
Exactly.
Even though we lived downtown Charleston, we hadn't even attended Charleston Wine and Food Festival at this time. So when we got the opportunity to not only go down to Atlanta and showcase our talents, but also to create a cocktail, we were just over the moon for the opportunity. And that's a cocktail that we have in front of us right now. It's a Peninsula tea. And we're going to get into more details about this cocktail, what it's made, and its origin story a little bit later in the session.
Yes. But that was our main intro into like the food and bev culture. We were done after that. We were like, okay, we have to figure out how to make this a bigger platform. We have to figure out how we can enjoy more beverages, not only in our city, but in other cities that are up and coming, not only alcoholic, but non-alcoholic beverages as well. And just educating our base about what they're drinking.
Education is really important to us. We are both members of the United States Bartenders Guild, and we are able to go to so many different trainings on gin, on drams. We've been able to really meet brand ambassadors and get firsthand education on different barrel processes, fermentation. So we went, well, I'll speak for myself because Tanika had a background in beverages. I went from being a complete novice to really educating myself and consuming myself with beverage information, and we shared all this on our social media.
Yes, I was a beginner bartender as well, so we literally learned all of this stuff together. So after the Wine and Food Festival, we partnered with South Carolina Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. They have an app called Satisfy Your Thirst SC. Please check them out.
Yeah.
At satisfyyourthirstsc.com.
Download the app too. It's an app on your phone.
So the app basically tells you everywhere in South Carolina that provides liquid beverages that are made here. So we did a 10-day tour all around the state, and we broadcast all of it on our social media, all of our platforms, our blog, and then we actually made 3 cocktails at Atlanta Food and Wine Festival the following year with those ingredients and with all the research and culture that we learned from that experience.
It was a lot of work and a lot of fun visiting all those distilleries and breweries. And
creameries,
yes,
juiceries, anywhere that makes liquids.
There was even like one winery, and we got to meet with the makers and talk to them and get the backstory on why they're making the crafts, why they're making this particular spirit or beverage, especially the soda makers, all those guys. Like we wanted to know like why you're doing this, and just be able to share their story and give more context to, we all drink every day.
Yeah.
And you make a choice on what you're drinking every day. And you wanted to give people, make them feel more sophisticated about what they're choosing to drink, whether it be tea or whether it be kombucha or, whiskey.
Yes. Also on that tour, we noticed that a lot of the makers, none of the makers were people of color. So we hope that we've inspired some people to start creating liquids from diverse fields, because it was pretty homogenous. We're very grateful for all of that, but it was still something that we noticed and understand how important our work is in this culture, because they're just people who aren't being represented.
And since then, so many other distilleries, juiceries, breweries have opened up.
Yeah.
It went from, in Charleston, we were very progressive. We're lucky to have a very progressive beverage culture here. But it went from being like 5 options to 25 options within a year or 2.
Yeah.
And people in our community, we were seeing it too. People were coming to Charleston and they want to go to a brewery. they ask, can we go to a distillery? Can we go to Firefly? Before, they would never have thought about spending an afternoon at an actual brewery.
Right.
So we were just seeing, okay, we're actually having an effect on people. Even our friends, when they travel, they go to Jamaica, they make sure that they go by our own distillery.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of that because people are taking more interest in what they're drinking.
Yes. So the Satisfy Your Thirst campaign was amazing. We want to thank, SC Parks, Recreation and Tourism, Discover SC, and all those great people for allowing us that opportunity. It was huge for us back then. It was so big, and it allowed us to get more knowledge of South Carolina culture, period.
And that really opens up the doors for other opportunities. We have been able to travel again through the USBG. We got to educate ourselves with a full immersion in Mexico. We went down to the Patron Distillery and were able to really meet the humidors, meet the families who have been growing agave for centuries, really, and get more understanding for their love for the craft as well.
Yeah, agave is a super slow food. Like it takes 7 to 10 years to grow. So to be able to go into this small town and see this distillery and see that they're basically taking care of the entire community in one way, shape, or form, really opened up our perspective to not just saying, oh, Patron is just popular. No, they're really doing things for their community, and they're doing things for the bartender community as well.
They gave us that opportunity, and it really meant a lot to us because when we first started Cocktail Bandits, tequila was our main spirit of choice. We spent a lot of time researching, tasting, trying over 400 different expressions of tequila.
Yes. We also got certified by the board, the tequila board, the CRT board, and that was awesome. Like we actually feel like, we're experts in tequila. So that was really great. After that, we ended up going to Italy, and I went in toward the south, Johnny toward the north, and we went to 5 different distilleries each. That was also an immersion of just really old culture, centuries and centuries of certain processes, and they're just wanting to get Americans to taste their product. They want Americans to know that they exist, and they want to think about new and innovative ways to incorporate their liquids into what we have going on here. So it was an amazing experience.
I was really surprised by the cultural similarities in Italy and in the South.
Mm-hmm.
Their food was very regional. Like we would go maybe 2 or 3 hours away from a different town, and the food would be totally different. What you drank with it would be different.
Yeah.
Different spirits, different aperitifs. So just that whole culture, that's the same way in the South. Like we have shrimp and grits here in Charleston, but if you go down to Beaufort, they make it a little bit different. And if you go up to Florence, where Tanika's from, is a little bit different.
Rice culture.
Yeah.
Just rice culture is different regionally.
So that was, it's always interesting when you travel to see how similar other cultures are, and we try to focus on differences, but we're so much alike.
Yes. We also went to Toronto for a cocktail conference in Toronto and was very pleased with how diverse it is. There was the diversity in food. There was the diversity in culture. You didn't know who was who and what was what, and I loved that. We felt very welcome there, and we learned a lot about their culture as well.
What I really, really appreciated about Toronto Cocktail Conference, and we're also going to be a part of their virtual conference later on in August. So check on our social media and our website, cocktailbandits.com. We'll have the information on the date in which we're engaging with Toronto Cocktail Conference. But at the very beginning of that conference, they took the time to recognize the Indigenous people that were living in Canada before it was settled. And they acknowledged the tribes. They had someone from the community come out and speak. And it really, really touched me. I feel like we do a lot of traveling here in the States. We've been all over this country, but I've never had an experience where people went out of their way to acknowledge the Native Americans in that way and acknowledge their contributions. It's something that I want to see more of moving forward.
Me too. And, this year we had the wonderful experience of going to France. We went to Wine Expo that was in Paris for a few days, and then we traveled down south to Cognac, and we were immersed in the Cognac culture. We were with the Pasquet family. They actually have their own Cognac Pasquet, and we were able to go into their farm. We learned about, they use sustainable practices to grow their grapes. They're not using Roundup. They're making sure they're not poisoning the land or their consumers, and they're elevating the criteria on how to make Cognac.
that experience in France was so eye-opening. First of all, the Wine Expo in Paris was one of the largest conferences that we've been to.
It was huge.
They had just so many different areas. You really could spend a day alone in each area.
Mm-hmm.
We were invited to cover the new expo on spirits. So before it was focused primarily on wine, but they had a whole section dedicated to spirits, where they had some of Paris's top bartenders come out and serve us cocktails all day. So you know where we were at. We were in that section.
We were in the spirit section.
But they had spirits from all over the world, from Portugal, from Japan. I mean, we tried some really funky stuff.
Yes.
Some really fun stuff from Austria. Some things that hopefully we'll be able to get in the States, despite having the issues that we're experiencing now with the health crisis.
Just have to be patient.
We're being patient, and we also, when we were in Cognac, we got to go down to the Hardy Distillery as well, and a number of other ones as well. But
Yeah.
Hardy really stuck out to us because they also went out of their way to acknowledge the African American contribution to the longevity of cognac. There was a time where cognac went out of fashion in Europe, and they switched over to Scotch or American whiskey because it's imported and they want something fancy, and they really kind of ignored cognac. But because there were so many African American soldiers who were in France during the World Wars, they brought that love for cognac back to the States with them after that, and they continued to have that appreciation and love for cognac well after the war.
Also, some of our African American favorites like Langston Hughes and Billie Holiday, they all went over to France and they brought that culture back over too. Some of them stayed and never came back. So we learned this stuff over in cognac, and that was a blessing for us. It's empowering for us.
Additionally, a lot of the French companies, the Canadian companies, allowed African Americans to sell and market their products when other American-based companies would not. So that's why you see a lot of advertisement of Crown Royal or Hennessy in old vintage African American literature magazines on our network programming. You'll see that because they actually invited them to come in and represent their products.
Yes. So
very progressive.
Very progressive. And we're grateful for it because now we get to tell the story from our perspective. And that's what we've been doing, just telling stories, talking about the culture. It's not just about the liquor, it's the lifestyle. That's really our motto. And we like to show how the beverages make the culture, like how, food dishes make the culture or wherever you are. So when we're talking about stories, one day we were just hanging out, doing some research, drinking. I don't know what we were doing. And we got an email from this young lady who told us that they saw what we were doing on our blog and saw what we were doing online, and they would love to see that blog in book form.
That's right. And after we cried and kind of screamed, jumped around, we got into it, and we're like, this is something that we definitely had on our vision board for our little cocktail stuff for a long-term plan. But it was presented to us as an opportunity to share our story, and we jumped at it. It took about 18 months to do research, to do interviews, to craft cocktails. We really wanted to represent Charleston's culture, low country beverage community, and really share our background as well in the book.
Yes, and with all that research, we were able to come up with 50 plus original recipes. We partnered with 5 of our favorite bartenders in the city, so they can have a recipe in the book as well. We wanted them to use Charleston's product. And then we did some mocktails in the book as well. So with all of those compilations together, and of course our stories on beverage culture, we came up with Holy Spirits, Charleston's culture through cocktails.
So excited, so proud of it. Not only is it a record of Charleston's beverage history and also some of the African American contributions to the beverage community here in Charleston, but it's actually the first book of cocktail recipes and cocktail history written by any African American women ever in this country.
So at first it took us 6 months to even believe that ourselves, because we were like, oh my goodness, really? Are we the first? I mean, we researched before we told anyone. We researched, and turns out it was true. So we're super pumped about that. We're blessed to be a part of history, and we're just so glad that people supported us in this way, and we couldn't be more elated.
And even more so, the second book, and this is really how we know we're the first, came out from another lady. Her name is Shannon Musterberg. She's also born in Charleston. She resides in New York, and she wrote a book on tiki culture. and it's the first of its kind as well. So we are just so encouraged that more and more African American stories are being recorded, are being told, because we have been a part of the beverage community since its inception in this country.
Absolutely.
We've been a part of the breweries, the distilleries, all of that service culture, but sometimes people's names and our heritage has been removed from that story.
Majority of the time.
Majority of the time, unfortunately.
And before we wrote this book, the only African American that wrote a book on cocktails in America was Tom Bullock, and he wrote his book in 1919. So ours literally came out, no, 1918.
Yeah.
So ours literally came out 100 years later. So we were grateful for that.
Yes, and the tide is changing. More stories are being told. You guys are probably familiar with the Jack Daniel's story and how they have gone back and given credit to the African Americans who helped them distill their products. And there are countless other stories of different brands who have now acknowledged the contributions that former enslaved Africans made to their production of their products and their spirits.
Yes, agreed.
And also, we had difficulty with our book because we couldn't find names, we couldn't find pictures, we couldn't find addresses of people who we knew existed, who we knew were a part of the beverage community, but no one was keeping a record. And we've really taken on ownership and responsibility on telling these untold stories.
Yes, and the name of our book is called Holy Spirits because Charleston is the holy city, and we definitely wanted to keep Charleston into this book because regardless of any of the negativity, we're bringing some positivity and some optimism out of it. We're creating a new culture of Ichigala, and we're just so excited that we are spearheading some of these movements that hopefully will continue going on in the future.
So get you a copy of Holy Spirits. It's available on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble.
See if I can do it where you can see it better.
Here in Charleston, it's available at all the fine bookstores. There's also a link to purchase the book on our website. And we just appreciate the support. We have more products coming down the pipeline. We're going to be doing some more interactive events. So let's take a moment to see if you guys have any questions before we go on to our next section of this interaction. We're over here talking and rambling. We want to hear what you guys are thinking.
Absolutely.
No, it's really fantastic to hear about your journey. And just all of you, want you to notice I threw the link to get the book into the chat. So get yourself a copy. I certainly want to. The only question is if you ever alternate your cocktails with mocktails. I think the question is, how do you handle doing something like tasting 400 different tequilas or tasting through so many cocktails in a day and a weekend?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that. We actually judge the American Craft Spirits competition. It's all over the country. We've done it for the last 3 years, and the first year was in DC, second year was in LA, and then the third year was in Bloomington, Indiana. And so we have different sections. Like I would try 90 gins in 2 days, and Johnny trying
cordials, which is a running together from aquavit all the way up to a soju, or liqueurs basically.
Yeah,
brandies,
liqueurs.
Different types of pear liqueurs. So you go from something being super herbally to something being super sweet in a day session. And what you do is you sit around, you have water, the air's on, no one can wear perfume. Like it's super serious.
There's nuts, there's all kind of things that you need to eat. But for us, before we embark on a big conference or a tasting situation or somewhere where we know that we're going to be heavily imbibing, we take a break. We take like a week break or so before the actual event. And we do make lots of mocktails. We enjoy mocktails. We do events for bridal showers. We do events for kids. We've even done an LGBT queer prom for kids who did not feel comfortable going to a regular prom. And we love incorporating non-alcoholic components into the same experience because it's about the experience. It's not really about getting inebriated.
We say that there is a cocktail for every occasion, whether it's a barbecue or a baby shower. Mm-hmm. And we've been challenged with all those different taps. Yes. We have made a variety of different drinks using anything you can think of. As you mentioned earlier, we meet people and they say, oh, I love what your brand is, but I don't drink alcohol. They said, oh, honey, that's fine. Because you drink coffee, tea, water, juice,
kombucha, soda.
Yeah, like all of those are beverage based. So we can talk about whatever you want to drink, but I know a way that we can make that experience better. Think about garnishes. You want fresh herbs, you want fresh fruit in your glass, whether it's alcoholic or not. So there's always something that you can add to it to make it even extra special. And going back to when we judge the spirits competition, we're not drinking the entire sample. They don't even pour you any more than a quarter of an ounce in the glass. So you sip it on your tongue, you know, move it around in your mouth, you breathe it in, and then you spit it out. Right? There's just no way that you can consume that variety. Even when you're drinking 70 gin, which is the same profile flavor-wise, it'll cause tongue fatigue. To where you can't even acknowledge anything. And we are really cautious about how we handle that role, because whenever you see a bottle that says, oh, 99 percent or first class, we're the ones who is giving it that rating. And we don't take that lightly. So we're very critical, where we give a lot of comments back to the makers, because we want our community to have quality products. And we want to represent America as well, because we're really proud of our American spirit. You know, other countries like Italy and France, they've been making spirits for centuries. So we want to have spirits that are on par with those brands as well.
And drink water. Drink water between your beverages. Drink a mocktail between each cocktail. Have a non-alcoholic beer. I just had a Heineken that was 0 alcohol the other day, because there are also options. I take breaks all the time, where I will literally go to different bars and restaurants and ask them, make me a mocktail, make me a non-alcoholic beverage, just so people can know that there's diversity and you don't have to consume alcohol to have a good time.
And check out our profile on Instagram. We did some really fun recipes with CBD sparkling water. So there are a lot of CBD products coming out now that has really opened up things in our community. All the cocktails that we made did not have any alcohol in it, because it's still a very new product and we don't really know how CBD and alcohol are gonna interact in your body. So we gave you some really fun ideas on what you can do with CBD products as well. So the industry is constantly growing. There are so many options, and we're excited because we are creative people, and it gives us much to play with.
So the content never ends. We always have something to do.
Like just this week, we had 7 different deliveries that range from flavored coconut water to Guatemalan rum. So it just runs the whole gambit.
Ciders, different beers. I mean, we cannot drink all of that stuff. So we take days off, but some days we sit and focus so we can have the flavor profiles and show love to people who show love to us too.
And if it's something that's new that we haven't had before, that is so exciting, because you get tired of having the same old. So something that's coming from California or Colorado is really exciting.
And just a little fun fact, there are like 300 different profiles of wine. There are like 600 different profiles of coffee. So that's not even the hard liquors yet. So the diversity on our palate is never ending, and we're here to just show you guys everything that we learned.
So is there any other questions before we get into the cocktail side of things? It is happy hour, right?
Definitely. Julie would love to know if you have a favorite gin.
Ooh, I should be the expert on gin.
Oh my goodness. Well, right now my favorite gin is Sombrin gin. It's from Cathead Vodka, and they're a company that has worked with us since the very beginning of our journey. I mean, literally giving us bottles when we had 15 followers, 20 followers. They believed in our vision, and we always use their cocktails. Use their products in our things. I like a gin that is, very juniper, and I like to taste my juniper in my gin. And the Somber gin is one of my favorites right now. I also like Hendrix if I really don't want to taste the gin, but
Yes, shout out to Cathead. They have an amazing product line. I mean, you guys probably know the honeysuckle vodka. They have a pecan as well. Pecan liqueur, that's awesome.
Chicora liqueur.
It's so good. And like Tika said, the Bristol gin is amazing. Try that out.
Bristol.
It's not too herbal. It's even a little sweet. So you can really do it in a highball and just with soda and ice and really enjoy that. So
what was the name of the gin in Greenville? There's a really good gin in Greenville too. We'll have to put it in the bottom of the comment. But you know who else has a great gin? High Wire Distillery in Charleston. They have a great gin. They also have a barrel aged gin. I can't believe I didn't even think about them right now, but they have a really good one. And Nifatati gin. It's a sweet, lighter gin that you can just add a little bit of tonic water to, and you feel like you have a porch pounder, which is a cocktail that you can drink over and over again on your porch.
A trademark cocktail.
Yes.
And the high wire gin is called Hat Trick.
Hat Trick.
Find that Hat Trick. The bottle is remarkable, so you'll see it in the store. It stands out. Grab it. Support local. High Scott man.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't go wrong. Gin is actually the first infused spirit because it's just vodka with some botanicals in it.
Yes.
So there's a.
Oh my gosh, there's so many gins now. Like I feel.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, what's this gin?
Oh, Durham Distillery.
Durham Distilling has a great gin as well, and one of the owners is a woman who's a chemist, and she is brilliant, and she is literally infusing it in a proprietary new way where you're getting all of these great flavors, and you know we like that too. I mean, I can go on and on with gins all day.
They also make a gin and soda in a can.
Yeah.
And we have a video that on our page that we're going to post shortly about canned cocktails because there's a whole new section of the industry of cocktails ready to make and ready to drink in a can. But theirs tastes so good. It doesn't taste like aluminum like you would think inside of a can or
really flavorful.
bitter. They've done it really well. They were actually ahead of the game.
They were
before the recent wave of cocktails in a can.
But because North Carolina has such strict liquor laws, so the South Carolina, we're battling with both of those, that it was difficult for them to get it out before everyone else. Like they had to be other brands that came out because that's a whole nother topic talking about the laws and, you know, the restrictions in some states.
Well, if there's no other questions, we're gonna shake things up with the cocktail because I've been enjoying mine during this session. I need a refill. Okay, I need some more in the drink. So this cocktail really changed the game for us. We've made this cocktail more than we made any other cocktail ever in our brand history. So it's really significant to us. It's significant to South Carolina and Charleston in general, and just overall, just proud to be able to put art in glass.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started.
That's right. So the first ingredient we're going to use is just some lemon juice. We try to keep it as fresh as possible. So we're going to freshly squeeze this one. It's just going to be a ½ ounce of lemon juice, which is about half of a lemon, fresh lemon. It's pretty big. And this guy is huge. Yeah. So he's going right. Sorry, Jewel, our assistant's getting splashed with lemon juice over here. But that is all the lemon juice we're going to need.
We're also using some honey syrup. What we've done is actually dilute the honey, 1 part honey, 1 part water. That way it's easy to shake up. We're going to do a ½ ounce of that as well. We want to keep it simple.
And we dilute it to add the water in it because it makes it easier for us to incorporate it into the cocktail. You know, if you've experienced it at home, you put raw honey into the cocktail shaker and it just sticks to the ice or it sticks to the bottom of the shaker because it's so thick. Well, adding the water will loosen it up and it'll make it easier for it to get mixed up into the cocktail.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and pour up this.
So the star of the show, we like to put in our spirit last because we don't want to waste our good juice if we do any mistakes before. So we're going to do 2 ounces of the Firefly.
It's happy hour.
It's sweet tea vodka, and the tea comes from our lovely plantation here, our tea plantation here in Charleston.
It is the only tea plantation in the United States, period. So we're so lucky to be able to have this resource here. And Firefly is so authentic about the way that they make it. They're not adding tea flavoring into it after the fact. There is an infusion into the spirit. So you're getting a real local tea infused in there.
So now the best part, y'all. We're about to shake.
Hey! Shake it up. Shake it up. Shake it up. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, don't you just love that?
All right.
So we're using these really fun mason jars that we got from the Firefly Distillery. And it's just so southern to have sweet tea in a mason jar. And they've made it fun. There's a little handle on here so it's easier to drink. So you just pour that mixture right over the ice into the glass.
And then we take some Blenheim's ginger ale. Blenheim ginger ale is actually made near where I'm from in Dillon, well, it's Hammer, South Carolina, but it's near Dillon, near the south of the border, if anybody knows anything about South Carolina. And it is delicious. They have a spicy ginger ale, and they have a not so spicy ginger ale. Today, we're doing the not so spicy, but we enjoy the spicy too.
That spicy ginger ale opens up all of your nasal passages. So if you're a little congested, get you some Blenheim spicy, and you can enjoy it, and it'll help you.
It's amazing.
So we're gonna add our garnishes now. We're gonna start off with some fresh mint. The fresher the better. Give it a little smack. That's gonna open up the oils and also open up all the aromatics. And stick him right on the side of the glass. Then we're gonna add a little lemon wedge. And we're using a wedge just in case you wanna add more citrus. You can squeeze that lemon juice right into the glass and add it to the drink and make it a little bit more bright if that's your preference.
And finally, we're adding a sweetgrass rose. These are made by a local artist here named Fletcher Williams. He actually does installments with these small roses, and it is so cultural. It is so Charleston. There are people who have been making these roses for hundreds of years.
I'm sure you guys have seen those beautiful sweetgrass baskets. If you had the chance to visit Charleston, you right down in the downtown market, you get people weaving them by hand. Also, it's in monuments and museums all over the country. If you go to the Smithsonian, they have a huge basket that was commissioned by a Charleston artisan, and it has it on display. So not only is it culturally significant to us here in Charleston, it's culturally significant to the United States. I mean, people who were weaving these baskets were using it when they were cultivating rice from the plantations here in the South. So it was a huge tool for commerce here.
And the reason why we love to use these roses is because no matter where we are in the country or in the world, we're able to make this cocktail, and you can take a little piece of Charleston's culture with you. And that means a lot to us to have art in a glass.
And it's delicious to drink, you guys. It is our original Porch Pounder. You can really drink these, sit, talk with a friend, look at the sunset, and just really assume that Southern living.
And it's really, if you love sweet tea and you love Arnold Palmer's, this is the cocktail for you. Like, we love sweet tea here in Charleston. And with Firefly, they have more than just the sweet tea flavor. They also have the lemonade, and they have the ruby red vodkas. And they're both amazing. You can just pour them in and add some tonic or some soda water, and they are awesome. They come in, they have like cordials. Mm-hmm. They have red velvet liqueurs. They have chocolate cake liqueurs, banana pudding.
So decadent.
So it's so Southern, and then you're able to drink and feel like a Southern girl.
Yes, and check them out if you get a chance to come to Charleston. It's a great day trip to come and have your friends come out and try the spirits, hear their backstory. They also have some whiskeys and rums, even under
they have a bourbon now.
So we just love that we've been able to grow along with some of the growth of the local brands here, and just to reflect how our community here in Charleston is just growing at leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that, you know, we are able to partner with the first distillery, since we were the first women to write a cocktail book. It was like Kismet, and we're just thankful for the journey. Thank you so much, Firefly. Thank you so much, team.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us here today too.
Yes,
coming to
you guys have to come to this new location. It is amazing. It's beautiful. If you're ever in South Carolina after the COVID, call us, and we'd love to come and meet you guys out here too.
And before we get to the end of this, we want to thank all the essential workers who've been out here helping with the pandemic. That's from the nurses at the hospital to the people at the gas stations and at the takeout spots. We really appreciate you guys for risking yourself and to serve us and to keep the community going. It really means a lot, and we'll get to the end of this together.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to work together during this quarantine, please contact us at info@cocktailbandits.com or cocktailbandits@gmail.com. We're also on social media at Cocktail Bandits on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got a little bit of other stuff, but we're gonna build those platforms up. And yeah, we're just really grateful for y'all. Thank you. Thank you, Slow Food.
Yeah, sign in the DMs.
Thank you so much for being here. You guys covered so much. It's very impressive. You're clearly well practiced. I have a quick question. question about the cocktail. If we are in a place where we can't get our hands on that delicious Firefly sweet tea, is there some way we can still get the flavor of that sweet? Would you add a little sweet tea if it was just vodka you had, like regular vodka?
Yes, there's several ways you can do that. You can do the regular vodka and add sweet tea, but we have some really great companies here like Jack Rudy, and Jack Rudy does mixers, and they have a whole sweet tea mixer just to mix with cocktails.
Oh, okay.
So there's different ways you can do it. And like Tanika said, we like to do a cold brew on our tea. We feel like we get more flavor from the tea. So if you're going to do a brew with the tea and the vodka, try to do that so you can get the maximum amount of that tea flavor when you're mixing it with the vodka. And there are also other
Steeping it. Maybe steeping it in a small mason jar.
Oh, wow.
That would be a way to do it as well. Steeping some vodka and the tea together in a mason jar.
Please do, because we encourage at-home mixology.
Yeah.
We encourage home bartending. So grab you a kit, grab our book, because it has some basic recipes in it that you can start your mixology confidence with at home.
And it has a whole section on how to start your home bar.
Yeah. The tools you need, the basic ingredients you need. It doesn't have to cost you a crazy amount of money to have a well-stocked bar.
And don't think you have to do that. Start off with a few basics, 3 bottles that you like. Get some mixers, get you some glasses, and get some friends over and experiment together, especially after coronavirus.
And other ginger ales too. I'm sure Tanika said that. You don't have Blenheims in your area, Reed's, Schweppes, Canadian Dry, they all work. And if you just want more herbal flavor, find one. Like Reed's is a really good herbal ginger beer too. So.
Or juice some ginger, add some soda water. Ooh, I'm just, we can always make it work.
DIY it, baby, because we all at home, right? Why not create something?
Exactly.
We've got some time we didn't have before. We had a session a while back on how to make your own ginger beer if you want to go that route. A little more complicated.
Yeah.
I love all of those. I love the idea of steeping it at home. I know that COVID has inspired me and my household to start my cocktail bar. So I can't wait to get my hands on the book. All right, that's all of our questions. And so I will just thank you so much for being here and for your energy and your excellent wisdom and insight. It's really wonderful to hear your story, and we're really happy to have you as part of the Slow Food Mix. I know our slow food folks in Charleston are big fans. I know that a lot of them are on here today. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll follow up with all of you that have joined or that have registered for the session with an email with links to the book and the list of ingredients for the cocktail, which Johnny and Tanika have put into a nice little graphic, easy to send along to you, and links to some of the things that were mentioned here today, and a link to the recording of this session in case you need a little refresher on how to make that cocktail. Yeah. So I'm going to hand it back over to you just to say goodbye, and thank you so much for being here. We're really grateful to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. This has been an amazing experience. Hopefully we get to chill and talk with you guys more in the future. We love slow food, and we love what you guys are doing. And we're just really grateful. So thanks everybody for checking in and watching us make our favorite cocktail.
And we are still doing activations virtually. You can definitely contact us about hosting a private happy hour for you and your girlfriends, for your team at work as a corporate type of team building situation. Mm-hmm. We're also working with lots of different apartment complexes to do like cocktail deliveries and
virtual tours.
So we're definitely taking this time to pivot our business platform to be able to accommodate this virtual reality that we're in right now. So hit us up with a creative way that we can engage you and your friends and teach you something new with cocktails.
We're very open.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that creativity. And I just want to say real quick that there's a lot of gratitude coming at you in the chat before I close this thing down. So we'll see you soon.
Cheers.